Let's everybody get a white hymnal, turn to page 169. Good evening. Glad to be back in God's house this evening. Looking forward to another study. We're going to do 2 miracles tonight. I took Brother Jamie's advice. I got to looking today, and we're going to talk about Peter's mother-in-law being healed, and it's about 2 verses. And then the next one was that evening Jesus healed some other people. So it was about 4 verses altogether. So we're going to get 4 and 5 in this evening. Miracles 4 and 5. So looking forward to that study. But before we do that, we want to go to the Lord in a word of prayer, and we want to mention some announcements. Do you remember our Bible school coming up? I know Miss Nikki is working diligently. What we got? 2 more weeks? Yep, she's counting it down. The hourglass is ticking, but we want to make everybody aware of that. I know I've been mentioning it, but we want to tell all the community, tell everybody that we can, and invite them so that way we can have a slew of young people that week. Looking forward to some seeds being sowed, looking for an increase that week. But make sure you put that on your calendar. And like I say, we will be starting it out that Sunday with our normal meal that, we're going to feed them every night, but we'll be having hamburgers and hot dogs that Sunday evening as like a kickoff for Bible school. So make sure that you make plans to be with us for that. And then also that Sunday morning, the 22nd, we'll be honoring our graduates. So make sure that you put that on your calendar. Ladies Fellowship will be meeting this coming up Monday evening. They postponed it because several wasn't here on Sunday morning. So make sure that you put that on your calendar this coming up Monday for Ladies Fellowship. Is there any other announcements we need to mention this evening before we go to the Lord in the Word of Prayer? Do continue to remember all those that's on our prayer list. Do continue to remember Miss Sue Manus. She got to come home yesterday. I talked to Little Ricky. I always say that because I call him Ricky. He's always the only Ricky that I know, but his daddy's name's Ricky too. But I talked to him, said his mama was doing better, and said she was feeling a whole lot better. And then I think Mama talked to her late yesterday afternoon. She got to come home. She had some intestines or something twisted up. I forget what it was. Had to do emergency surgery. It's over my head. All I know is that she was sick. She was in the hospital. She had surgery. Now she's feeling better. The Lord is good. That's all I know. But do continue to remember Miss Sue as she's recovering at home. And then also continue to remember it was somebody else. Remember Miss Debbie's mom. She's in the hospital up at Ashburn. Do continue to remember her and remember Miss Debbie and Brother Donald. And then it seemed like there was somebody else in the church that I was supposed to be praying for. I know Miss Linda's got a test or got a doctor's appointment tomorrow. We're going to do something special here in just a little bit for that. But do remember Miss Linda as she goes tomorrow. And then also remember Miss Dorothy. I don't see her tonight, but do continue to pray for her. Continue to remember Mama. It's good to have her back with us. Pray for her and her speedy recovery. She's put the walker up. Now she's just got her cane out. So don't get too close. Within 3 or 4 foot, you'll get hit. She's done hit me with it as soon as I come in. But do remember Brother Jim and Miss Pat. Continue to remember Brother Jamie as well. Also remember Clayton Smith, Wayne and Gail. Do remember Miss Regina, Brother Marvin and Miss Mary. Continue to remember both of Miss Norma's brothers. Miss Diane Pierce, Donald Yow's Friends for Salvation. Miss Sherry Gerald, Julie Tucker, Audrey Burris, John Callicut, Louise Dunn, Glenn Hawkins, Kenny Metters, Amy Brown, Kathy Free, Eddie Davis over the road here, Miss Sutton, and Miss Emma with cancer. Continue to remember Tammy Davison and Bridget Gallimore. Is there any other outspoken? Yes, sir, Brother Paul. All right, let's remember Brother Paul's brother down in Florida. Any others this evening? Yes, sir, Clay. All right, let's remember this one that had a house fire. But got a lot to pray about, and I'm thankful that as we sung that song, Burdens Are Lifted at Calvary. I'm thankful that we serve a God that hears our cries. And I'm thankful that He knows better than I do. He knows what we need when I don't even realize what's going on, and I sure am thankful for that. I should have talked to you. Miss Haley, would you pause the service for just a minute? Will it be okay?
Everybody get a white hymnal, turn to page 159.
If you got your Bibles this evening, turn to Mark chapter 1. This particular instance was taken out of the three Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, but we're going to do our reading out of Mark this evening. I got too used to moving around. Talk with my hands too much. Oh, that one's on. It sure don't sound like it. All right, like I told you, we're going to do the fourth and fifth miracle this evening, and me and Desiree celebrating our 20-year anniversary today, and we celebrated in the big city of Troy. We went over to Hometown Barbecue and eat lunch. I mean, it was a big day, and we went over there. Well, it was about between supper and lunch when we finally got over there, and I was sitting at the table, and Lane and Lucas went with us. I said, well, we got Peter's mother-in-law going to be healed tonight, and I said, y'all got any ideas? And Lane said, well, give me the scripture, and I'll give you 3 points. So I read the scripture to him and give him a while to think about it, and he still ain't gave me 3 points yet. But I am thankful for my lovely wife. I was thinking, she said a while ago, we all got in the car before she did. And she said she was ready. I said, are you ready? Yeah. and come back. And the next thing I know, here's a hair dryer running, there's makeup going on, and I'm like, well, you wasn't ready. And she come out and she said, well, I was late for my own wedding, so might as well be late again this evening. But we was 20 years is a long time to put up with me, that's for sure. She's got all kinds of crowns and glory. And it's like I used to tell Miss Judy when she married Grandpa. I said, Judy, you're going to have to kick the crowns off your porch when you get your mansion. She's probably still up there in glory right now, still kicking crowns off the porch of her mansion for putting up with him. But that's the way it is going to be when Desiree gets there. All you're going to hear is crowns just flying around when she moves in because of putting up with me. But let's see what Mark said about the fourth and fifth miracle this evening. Mark chapter 1, verses 29, and we'll read down through verses 34. Verse 29 says, and forthwith, when they were come out of the synagogue, they entered into the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. But Simon's wife's mother lay sick of a fever, and anon they tell him of her. And he came and took her by the hand and lifted her up, and immediately the fever left her, and she ministered unto them. And at even, when the sun did set, they brought unto him all that were diseased, and them that were possessed with devils. Let's read 33 and 34. It says, all the city was gathered together at the door, and he healed many that were sick of divers diseases, and cast out many devils, and suffered not the devils to speak, because they knew him. That's the power that Jesus has. He come in and healed Peter's mother-in-law, and then he told the devils, he said, don't even tell these people who I am. Because Jesus looked at it sometime. We've heard him teach about it. We've seen it in his word, how he said that the people wouldn't even receive him. And the devils knew who he was. I think we mentioned that last week in our study of how he cast the one out as the man was going into the synagogue there, or going into, it was a synagogue, not the temple. And how that devil knew who Jesus was. And so many Christians can't even realize who God is in their life and what God's trying to do to them and do for them. But as we look into these two miracles this evening, I guess if you was given it from given a title to it, it would be from the house to the crowd. He came in on an individual level to begin with, and then he moved from just being one that he healed to being many. And I'm thankful that he'll heal one, or he'll heal a big crowd. He'll do something for me, and he'll do something for a big number of folks. And I'm thankful that he's no respecter of man when it comes to what he'll do for us in this life. Because if we was all getting what we deserved, he would never even pass by my way, because I'm unworthy. I'm unworthy to even be able to call him Father, because of all the sorriness in my life, of all the things that I've ever done, all the good that I've ever done, would never amount to enough to be called worthy. The Bible tells us our righteousness is as filthy rags. Filthy rags is good for nothing. You can't even clean up a mess with filthy rags. And so therefore that we have nothing inside of us, but I'm thankful that when he moves in on the inside, we have something that is worth it. And that is him, not us, because so many people get caught up with that. It's not got anything to do with I. It's not got anything to do with Bradley. It's not got anything to do with you. It has to do with him. He is the only thing that is inside of me that is worth anything. But as we look at this, these two miracles this evening, it kind of shows us, the theme of it was to show the Jews, to show those crowd that was following him around, that Jesus cares about the individuals and Jesus cares about the multitude. If you look at any folks today, some people, pastors in particular, some people are all worried about the numbers. This thing's not a number game. It's not whether we've got 10,000 here. It's not whether we got 1,000. It's not whether we got 10 here. It's all about him. And that Jesus proves that to us. He was there for that individual. He was there for Peter's mother-in-law, just like he was for the multitude. Now, I'm thankful when new folks come in. I'm thankful when people come in and get saved. I'm thankful when new families come in, but it's got to be about him. It can't be about us. It can't be about New Center. It's got to be about him. And it was his example to us to show us that it's all about him. He heals both in private and in public, showing His compassion, authority, and availability to all. He came to the Jews first, and they rejected Him. And then He spread it out to the Gentiles. And I sure am thankful that me being a Gentile dog, He was able to pass by my way one day. He was able to give me the ability to be saved, and I'm thankful that He come by my way. And these folks here, I'm going to get ahead of myself. Firstly, tonight we want to look at the power of a personal touch. We see that in the first miracle there with Peter's mother-in-law. Jesus comes into the house, and I'm thankful that when Jesus is in the house, business picks up. When Jesus is inside of your house, inside of your temple, inside of your home, and wherever you're at, business will pick up. Now, a lot of times we don't make room for Him. We make room for everything else, but when it comes to God, He's the last one that we think of, and it should be the opposite. He should be the first one that we come to. But He left the synagogue and a public ministry and entered into a private home. I'm thankful that this is not the only place that I'm able to meet with Him. I'm thankful that this is not the only place that I get to feel His presence. If it was, I would be camped out over here all the time. I would never leave this place because I would not want to leave thinking that He might pass by. As we'll talk about it here at some point in time, but as I think about that man at the pool at Bethesda, he just lay there waiting for the waters to be stirred. It would be like us the only time that He'd come by here trying to stir the waters, trying to get us revived, and we'd miss it. That man missed his chance so many times to be cleansed, to be healed, but it was not anything to do with that pool later on. That man met the one that could heal him of everything. But I'm thankful that it's not just here that I'm able to feel Him. Jesus, He came to the home of Peter, and Peter's mother-in-law was there. Revelations 3:20 says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in into him and will sup with him, and he with me." When was the last time you let Jesus in? He's standing at the door knocking. Since we've built the house and we bought permits and everything else, the county knows something's going on up there. It's got some going on so much, the tax people come out today. Come by, pilfering around, taking pictures. And she didn't knock on the door. The dog knew she was there, and Desiree sicked her on her nose. She didn't. But I think about when somebody comes to your house and they're knocking on that door. I've been out visiting, been out on visitation, going door to door, knocking on the door, and you hear people say, "Hush, hush, there's somebody at the door. Don't say nothing. Don't be," and you got the youngin' ripping the blinds down. They looking out, and you see their face. I'm sitting there waving at them. We'll see you later. But I mean, that's the way it is. You've been that one too. Especially when the JWs come by. You say, "Well, I ain't got time to go out there and talk to them." But Jesus is standing there at the door knocking. It's up to us whether we're going to open the door and let Him in. So many won't let Him in. They would soon try to do things on their own, but what would have been the condition of Peter's mother-in-law if Peter hadn't welcomed him home? If Peter hadn't welcomed him into his house, his mother-in-law may have died. It said she was sick with a fever. We don't know the condition of what would have happened if Peter had said, "Well, you know what, Jesus, won't you go on home with Matthew this evening? Don't come to my house." I hope and pray that Jesus is always welcome at my home. There's been times that I've been ashamed to have Him come into my house. And I'm ashamed of that. But I'm thankful that I hope I don't have anything to be ashamed of at the house right now, other than maybe just a little bit of a mess. Desiree said a while ago, said, "When's the maid coming by?" I guess I'm going to have to punch in the morning and get my after anniversary brownie points. But I'm hoping that He is always welcome at your house as well. Secondly, tonight, Jesus responds to intercession. Anon, that word anon means at once. They tell Him of her. You see that there in verse 30. It said, someone spoke up on her behalf. Someone spoke up and said, "Hey," I don't know whether they called attention to Peter, whether they called attention to Jesus Himself, but somebody told him, said, "Hey, she's sick. She needs some help." The ones in the house didn't forget about the condition. When Jesus come in, You know, a lot of times when things start picking up, when things start happening, we'll forget about all the stuff that we were supposed to do. All the stuff that, like I was telling you, just coming in here in prayer request time. There was somebody, and I think I got them all, but that's just how quick we forget of who we're supposed to pray for, of who we're supposed to be looking after. But these folks knew that this lady was sick. They knew that she had a need. They knew that that Jesus needed to come in and help her. We need to intercede on our brother and sister's behalf. I'm thankful that they have the chance to pray for themselves, but it sure is nice to have a joint prayer, to have, just like we did to start the service off with a prayer. There was no healing power in that prayer, but just always, the Bible tells us where 2 or 3 are gathered in His name, there He'll be there too. I'm thankful that there was more than 2 or 3 that was gathered in His name. But they knew that if Jesus could get there, that this lady, that things would pick up. James 5:16 says, "The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much." The thing about it is, a righteous man, somebody that does right, that's kind of few and far between nowadays. Somebody that's always right. Well, there's a lot of people that thinks they're always right, but being righteous, the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. We've got to be fervent in our prayer. We got to be, the Bible tells us to pray without ceasing. Now, that does not necessarily mean to always be in a constant knee bent, head bowed in prayer like that, but in that same mindset of thinking about that on our mind all the time. Maybe it's a diagnosis. Maybe it's a loved one. Maybe it's a need that you have just nobody else knows about. But being that concerned about it. So many times we want God to do things. We want God to move. And we might ask Him one time, and then we never talk about it again. And then when it comes down to it, say, well, God, I told you about my need. Why didn't you take care of it? Maybe He was waiting to see whether or not you was going to be faithful about talking to Him about it. But as we look, thirdly, Jesus touches and lifts her. It was no lengthy ritual. It was not. He had to get the incense out. He didn't have to get no balm out. He didn't have to get anything out. He just reached down, touched her, and lifted her up, and that woman was healed. Just a touch of compassion and command. We're not seeing that in the day and hour that we're living, but I'm thankful for that touch. When I've been there, I've been that one that needed that touch. Now, whether it be a physical touch, whether it was a spiritual touch, whatever it was, I'm thankful that the Master is still going around touching folks. Psalms 30 verse 2 says, O Lord my God, I cried unto Thee, and Thou hast healed me. Jesus doesn't just move in crowds. He moves in your home, your family, and your needs. I'm thankful that, I've done said it one time, I'm thankful that He goes with me wherever I go. That would do us some good to think about that a lot of times. That He's there with us all the time. You know, you may go somewhere and think, well, nobody sees me doing this. Nobody knows where I've been at. Nobody knows what I'm looking at. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Guess what God does? You're not hiding anything from Him. You have no secrets when it comes to God. He knows you. He knows your thoughts that's going to happen tomorrow. He knows what you've done today. He knows what you're going to do next week. He knows us. But the thing about it is, not only does He know us, He still loves us in spite of it. Like I told you the other day, just the thoughts that come across my mind would be enough to say, I don't want to have anything to do with that guy. But He still loves me in spite of myself, and I sure am thankful for that. But He moves with us in our homes, in our families, in our needs. Secondly, tonight, first, the power of a personal touch, but secondly, the proof of a changed life. Mark 1:31 talks about, it says, and He came and took her by the hand and lifted her up, and immediately the fever left her, and she ministered unto them. She served immediately. It didn't say there was a delay. There was no recovery period. You know, like I know after Mama had her surgery, she stayed in recovery for a while before they could release her and everything like that. Peter's mother-in-law didn't lay on the couch and say, well, hold on, I got to get my strength back. No, when Jesus healed her, He healed her immediately, and guess what? She got up and went to work. because Jesus had healed her. She had something to shout about. She had something to praise Him about because the Master had passed by. He come home with her son-in-law. He come home and reached down, and that fever left her, and she immediately got up and served. Romans 12:1 says, present your bodies a living sacrifice. We're supposed to be willing to serve all the time, not just when it's convenient to us. That's the way it's been in my life so many times. I'll do things when it's convenient to me. I rent some land from a lady to run my cows on. I rent her pasture, and I had to go meet with her today. And it seems like everything I've told that woman that I would do on that property or take care of, I've not done it. I told her, I said, have you ever heard the expression of burning the candle at both ends? She said, yeah. I said, well, some days I light mine in the middle just to see whether or not I can put it out. Seems like that's the way that it is. I told her, I said, I get the things that I have to get done so that way nothing else burns down. But that's not the way that it should be with God. So many times we put Him on the back burner. So many times we push Him to the back of the stack. But this woman, she served immediately. Not only did she serve immediately, but healing led to service. Jesus doesn't just save and heal to make us comfortable. He equips us to serve others. She didn't get up and say, boy, I sure am feeling good. Let me go back to what I was doing. Let me go back to the things that I need to get done. She said, no, I'm going to serve Jesus. I'm going to serve Peter and the rest of the crowd as they come home. She served them. She wasn't worried about herself. She wasn't worried about the things that she had been. Maybe she was in the midst of something when that fever hit her. She didn't go back to her actions. She didn't go back to what she had going on. She went straight to Jesus. We need to go straight to Him. Healing leads to service. 2 Corinthians 1:4 says, who comforted us in all tribulation, that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble, by the comfort wherewith we ourselves are comforted of God. I'm thankful that God is our comforter. People will try to give you encouraging words, and I'm thankful for the encouraging texts that I get from time to time. I'm thankful for the encouraging conversations that I have, but God is the one that will comfort you more so than anybody else ever could. Because the thing about it is, He knows you better than that friend. Desiree's been one of my best friends, if not the best friend that I've had, at least for the last 25 years. She's put up with me a whole lot longer than 20 years. But there's things that God's had to help me with that she couldn't help me with. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that there's a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. As much as I would love to do all that I can for her, there's things she's had to lean on God for in our relationship. There's things that you've had to lean on God for more so than the people that are sitting on the pew with you. I'm thankful for the folks that God gives me in my life, but I sure am thankful for Him and His faithfulness, how He's never let me down, how He's never left me. Thirdly, tonight, the crowd at the door. We went from one miracle to the next one. Now we're talking about the healing that came that evening. Verse 32 and 33 tells us, and even when the sun did set, they brought unto Him all that were diseased, and with them that were possessed with devils, and all the city was gathered together at the door. Timing matters in this situation. Now, if you go back and read prior to these verses that we read tonight, you'll realize that it was on the Sabbath day. So maybe these folks were waiting until the sun went down, because you know the Jewish calendar, the day changed at the setting of the sun. So at evening time, that changed from the Sabbath day, to the next day. So they was able to work. They was able to move. I'm telling you what. Now, some of these the Jews that really practice the not doing anything on the Sabbath, I mean, they take it to the T. I mean, they go as far as rolling out their toilet paper so that they don't have to roll the toilet paper roll on the Sabbath day. Now that is getting serious. Now what if you didn't roll off enough? Y'all going to shut it down. Desiree's shaking her head. She's going to walk out. But people take things like that serious. But when it comes to God Himself, we will not take Him that serious. Timing does matter. I'm thankful for the times in my life where I thought all hope was lost. It's kind of like The disciples, when they was on the ship with Jesus, I'm sure we'll talk about that. I know we talked about this in our study of John, and I've preached out of this same passage multiple times, but they asked, said, Master, do thou carest not that we perish? I know that I butchered that and I got the words wrong, but they asked Jesus, said, don't you care about us right now? I'm thankful that even the times that I've said, God, don't you care about me, I knew good and well that He cared about me more than I ever would Him. Timing does matter. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, to everything there is a season. We don't understand why we're going through the seasons that we go through in this life. I can't help think about Miss Linda and the season that she's in right now. Think about others that are dealing with seasons in their life. Whether it may be a spiritual battle, whether it may be a physical battle, we just don't never know. But there's always seasons. Just like our seasons in this life change, your spiritual seasons will change. You may be on the mountaintop today and be at the bottom of that valley tomorrow. You just don't never know. But God has a timing for all seasons that are coming through our life. It's hard to see why you're going through this season right now, ain't it, Miss Linda? We don't ever know why we're going through it. Maybe it's to open the eyes of some of us. Maybe it's to open the eyes of a family member. Maybe it's to open the eyes of a doctor. To go in there and tell them, say, you know what, I beat cancer before, I'm going to beat cancer again. We don't ever know why we're going through the seasons that we do, but I'm just thankful that His timing is everything. The entire city was moved. Not only the timing mattered, but the entire city was moved. One healing in a house created faith in a whole city. So, man, that's powerful. They heard that Peter's mother-in-law was healed, and then the whole city come to see what was going on. When was the last time your neighbors was trying to figure out what was going on at your house? Not in a bad way. I'm talking about in a good, godly way, saying, boy, something's really going on over there. Man, that person or that, she is on fire for the Lord. They have really got something going on over there, and I want just a little bit of what they have. The entire city was moved. John 12:32, Jesus said, if I be lifted up, will draw all men unto me. He was talking about the way that He would be crucified, that how He would be raised up on a cross, and that it would draw men unto Him. His suffering drew us to Him. Because of what He did on Calvary, we're able to be saved, and I'm thankful for that. I'll never be able to repay Him for all that He did for me, but the entire city was moved. Your testimony can open the door for many others to meet Jesus. I'll say it. I say it all the time. I'll say it again. It doesn't take long to ruin your testimony. It takes you a whole lot longer to build it back, to build it up, than it does to mess it up. I guarantee you, one good conversation, you can ruin your testimony with the folks at work. One bad action can ruin your testimony with the people that you love. But it can also open doors to others. If they see you handling situations, if they see you facing things in this life and not turning your back on God and not giving up on God, man, I'm going to tell you what, you'll never know this side of heaven what kind of impact that makes on folks. I tell you, I've given this illustration all the time, and I've been talking to him here in the last couple of days. I've got to where I'm crusting his chicken houses for him, but Derek Bean down the road here, good Christian boy. Me and him went to school together, graduated together, and the impact that he had on me, he didn't even know what he was doing. When we was growing up in school, every day he said his blessing. Whether he was with the cool kids, whether he was by himself, whether it did not matter what was going on, that young man was going to pray for his food. He still does it today. I've been in meetings with him in the company meetings when we would be at a gathering or something and see him bow his head, whether they prayed for the food all as a whole or not, he was going to bow his head. That has impacted me in this life to know that I shouldn't worry about who's around when I'm serving the Lord. That don't matter, because what matters is Him. If I'm pleasing Him, all the rest of it, hey, that's small stuff. But I know how it is growing up. Young people, listen to me. It's not to prove something to your buddies. It's not to be whether you're in the cool crowd or the not so cool. You probably ain't even using cool no more. That's an old word. Y'all probably using something else that I don't even know. I have to look words up now when the boys come home saying it to know whether it's a good word or a bad word. But it does not matter whether you fit in at school. It doesn't matter whether you fit in with the crowd at work. What matters is you fit in the crowd with God. That's the most important thing. Adults as well. Because we're no different. We put emphasis on the kids. We'll tell them how they should live their lives, but then when we go to work, are we any different than they are? Do we tell people, hey, man, I don't want to hear that nasty joke. I don't want to hear you talking like that. It goes both ways. But the entire city was moved. Fourthly, the compassion without limit. Mark 1:34 says, and he healed many that were sick of divers disease and cast out many devils. Jesus healed many kinds of sicknesses, and we all know that. There was physical sickness, there was mental, there was emotional, and there was spiritual. Psalms 103:3 tells us, who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases. Nothing is too hard for God. No diagnosis that we ever get in this life is too hard for God. Now, you say, well, that's not the way it was in the situation that I've had to face. Like I just told you before this, timing matters. A season, we may be going through a season, and that's why God didn't do what He did. But nothing's too hard for God. And as I said it earlier, He silenced the devils. Jesus shows His supremacy over Satan. We give Satan too much credit. And I said something, I don't even know what I said Sunday, talking about the devil. But a lot of times, everybody messes up and they'll say, well, the devil made me do it. Chances are, your flesh made you do it. Now, the devil may have made you do it. We was in the chicken house on Monday, and the feed mill brought me a boat about that long. And it stopped in the auger. It went past one feed line and got to the middle one and stopped that sucker up. I mean, it was tight. We had to take it apart, and I was beating and banging lanes. He was sitting there holding the flashlight. He said, Satan sure is working hard today, ain't he? I thought, well, at least he's been paying attention. But we give him credit. Now, he may have been there with us. I don't know whether he was or not. But it may have been to see, Lane was probably sitting there saying, well, wonder whether Daddy's going to say something he shouldn't. Wonder whether he's going to call down there to the feed mill and say something ugly that he shouldn't because they sent out this boat. I don't know. But he silenced the devils. Jesus showed His supremacy over Satan. 1 John 3:8 says, for this purpose of the Son of God was manifested, that He might destroy the works of the devil. We're not sitting around like, I guess we're still in the midst of a war now. Who knows what's going on? But I know growing up, when it was in the midst of the Persian Gulf, everybody watched the news in the evening to see what we blew up, to see who was killed, to see what was going on. That's not the way that we're watching this thing with Jesus and Satan. With God and Satan, because guess what? He's already won. He's already bought the t-shirts and got victor all over it. And we're not having to sit around to wait to see whether or not he's going to win. So if we are on the winning side, we need to act like it. We give the baseball team a hard time this year. Sometimes they got excited when we would win. I think me and Tim was probably more excited on some occasions than they was. But that's the way we go through life as a Christian. We're on the winning side. Guess what? I get up a victor every day. You get up a victor every day. But by 9 o'clock sometimes we forgot we're on the winning side. Whether you get a boat in your feed line, whether the milk spills out in the plant, whether they call about the taxes and somebody's owing the IRS and they're blaming you for it, whatever your situation you got going on, we got to tell them, hey, we're on the winning side. We need to act like it. The world needs to see us acting like it. There's no limit to Christ's healing. He's not intimidated by the variant or volume of human need. You think about this. God is sitting there. I picture it like a switchboard, and I know this is not the way that it happens, but I think about like those old movies that you used to watch. There was that lady that sat there and pulled those plugs, and she would move this plug to transfer the call over here and move this plug to go there. You think about God is hearing my cries. He's hearing Brother Donald's cries. He's hearing Brother Keith's, Brother Vernon's. He's hearing all those cries at the same time. And guess what? He's understood every one of them. He knows the need of every one of them. He doesn't have to go back and say, let me play that one again. Somebody will call and leave a message at the house, and I'll have to play it 3 or 4 times because maybe there was a low talker, maybe there was something going on in the background I could not understand quite what was, and I had to play it 3 or 4 times. That's not the way God is. He's able to answer your needs, my needs, everybody else's needs. He's able to answer everything in the whole world, hear it all at one time, and do something about it. That's how big my God is. Why don't we act like that? Why don't we go out acting like He is a big God? As we finish up tonight, whether you're like Peter's mother-in-law in need behind closed doors, or you're like the multitude hurting and open, Jesus is willing and able to heal and to restore. We may not like the way that He heals and restores, but He's able to. Now, He may do it in the way that we want Him to. I don't know. But we just got to trust in Him. He is the God of the private touch and the public miracle. He doesn't just have to work behind closed doors, although that I am thankful that He can come behind closed doors and work in private situations. Not only that, but He can come out into the public and work in public situations as well. He proves to us that He is a God that we're not supposed to go around hiding things. We're not supposed to go around hiding our affection towards Him. Jesus was willing to heal out in the open. He was willing to heal in private. He was willing to show who He was out in the open, and whether He was alone at Peter's house. We shouldn't be that one that's changing our faces when we go out of these walls. The world shouldn't see one side of us, and then us come in here and everybody says, man, they're a pretty good person. And then somebody hear you say something about church. Oh, you go to church? You've been around in those conversations when somebody go talking and you're trying to witness or something. Oh, I go to church. You do? Is that the reaction that people have when you tell them that you're faithful in God's house? I hope and pray that it's not. Now, I'm talking to the core tonight, so I doubt that very, very seriously is the situation. But as we face this week ahead, I guess I'm probably preaching to myself this evening. We need to let the world know that we're on the winning side, that we've already won the victory. That no matter how deep the hell gets outside of our door, no matter how much everything tries to come against us, we're still on the winning side. Like Brother Jimmy always said, the best is yet to come. I sure am thankful for that. I sure am thankful to know that this is not as good as it's going to get. I've enjoyed some good days in this life. Enjoyed 20 good years with this young lady right here. I'm thankful for every one of them. But that's not and she's going to say amen to this. This ain't the best that's going to come. Look at she may take a running slap. You never can tell. But in the days to come, we need to act like the best is yet to come. The world needs to see something. The world is depressed. The world is beat down. And guess what? The reason is because they don't know who the victor is. We need to be showing them who the victor is. Jesus Christ showed His disciples who the victor was and what He was going to do. And He gave us example after example of how we're supposed to live our life. Maybe in this week that we're going to go in the rest of it, what's left of it. And then the weeks to come that we'll go out and everybody will say, boy, I know he's on the winning side. I know what side he's on. That was my thing. We had several people that died unexpectedly in high school, whether it was a car wreck or whatever the situation was, and you always wonder where they were spending eternity at. I always said I don't want nobody to ever have to question where Bradley's going to spend eternity at. I want people to know that I'm going to be in heaven. I want people to know whose side I'm on. May we go out into this lost and dying world and tell them whose side we're on. Father, I pray that you'd use this thought tonight. Lord, I pray that you would touch. God, I pray that we would go out showing others that we've got the victory, showing that you've already won the war. Father, I pray that you might go with us and go with each of us in our homes. Lord, I pray that you give us traveling mercy. Father, I pray that you would bring us back out to your house this Sunday. Lord, we love you. In Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen. Good night. God bless y'all. We're dismissed. We'll see everybody back here Sunday morning.